Well, that wildcard didn't go quite as planned, but we move on to game week 32 and it's triple captain time. As we get into my usual video, we'll have a look at my previous game week, but most importantly, my transfers and captaincy thought and how my team will line up for the upcoming game week. So let's get straight into it. So starting off, as we always do, having a look back at my previous game week. So my game week 31 transfers, I actually played my wildcard. So instead of listing them all, I've just put wildcard played here for you. I made a lot of changes to my team. Very few players stayed. It was only the likes of Harry Kane and Son with their upcoming double game week that I did decide to keep. So game week 31, my wildcard was played. So looking at how my team got on now that I did play my wildcard. In goal, first of all, we have Forster of Southampton. Now, he did concede 3 goals to West Brom and only pick up 2 points, making 3 saves, but my backup goalkeeper on my wildcard was Schmeichel, given his good run of fixtures after this game week, and he only scored 1 point, so that was a good decision for me to make into my starting team for game week 31. Into the defence, it was a big disappointment to start, with Phillips and Rudiger both returning just 2 points. Now, it was Watkins, who I did sell on my wildcard, who did score against Phillips, so that was a tough one to take. And Rudiger for 2 points for Chelsea. Now, Chelsea were the dominant force in that game, but a sloppy goal that they conceded from a good Benteke header, but only 2 points from all of these 3 on my wildcard was disappointing. The final defender in my starting lineup was Saiss, who did keep a clean sheet, so finally a return from one of my defenders on my wildcard. He returned 6 points against Fulham in the early kickoff. I'm glad he got that. I almost went for Semedo of Wolves, who did return the extra 3 points from bonus points, but 6 points from Saiss is a great start and he has a really nice upcoming run of fixtures. Into the midfield, we start off with a big disappointment. Now, those of you who did watch my videos last week will know that I captained Aubameyang in game week 31. Now, he was confirmed out after the deadline. He did get a flu. Now, Arsenal did win that game 3-0, and if he'd have started that game, I really would have expected him to have got something in that. So 0 points from him was very disappointing, and it really did sum up my game week and meant that it didn't go nearly as well as it could have done. Elsewhere in my midfield, I wildcarded in double Liverpool midfield. Now, Jota didn't get anything. He could have got a goal if Mane had decided to square it to him, or the assist for the Trent goal, which has been a bit of a question mark about whether Jota could have got it, but Salah did come into my team and get a goal. So pleased that I went with him, but the 2 other Liverpool players that I went with in Phillips and Jota not getting the points for me yet, although a nice upcoming run of fixtures for them. The final midfielder was Son. Now, I wanted him for the double game week and he came into my team alongside Harry Kane. Now, given the amount of us that do own Harry Kane and the amount of people that did captain him in game week 31, I was more than happy to see him blank. But Son was a bit more of a differential in comparison to Kane, so happy that he got his goal in the 7 points, even though he potentially was too injured after getting hit in the face by Scott McTominay. Up front, I did go with the Leicester duo, so Jamie Vardy, my vice captain, we'll get onto that in just a minute, returning only 2 points. He wasn't that involved, and it was teammate Iheanacho that really was involved in the attacking play and trying to get Leicester back into that match. Iheanacho returning me 13 points with 2 goals really did save my game weeks along with the likes of Salah, Son and Saiss, but Iheanacho the real saving grace, that if he didn't get those 2 goals, it would have been a really depressing game week for me. But with Captain Aubameyang not playing and Vardy with 2 points being my vice-captain, I did leave on my bench Schmeichel, Smith Rowe, Kufal and Konza, and after auto subs, in came Kufal with a 4 points with an assist but did concede 2, so happy enough that he came off my bench, but it did mean that the vice-captaincy did fall to Jamie Vardy, who did blank, only scoring me 2 points, now double to 4. If only if I'd have put it on Iheanacho, Salah or Son, I would have been in a green arrow, but by the looks of it at the moment, I won't be getting one of those. So overall, it did give me a score of 51, which is pretty much bang on sort of the average for the active players. It's above the average in the game. It moved my overall score up to 2,025, so finally we're into the 2,000 point range, but it did give me a game week rank of 1.8 million, which is very sort of mediocre and midfield. And as a result, I did get a red arrow of about 2k. Now, the Everton game is still ongoing as I'm recording this, but with Dominic Calvert-Lewin not playing, very little is going to happen to my rank as a result of that game. So I did get a small red arrow of 2k, but nothing too much to take from that. Let's hope that I can push on in the upcoming game weeks and get as close to that top 10k as I'm aiming for. So with that as my potential team for Game Week 31, let's have a look at some potential transfers ahead of Game Week 32. Now, as I played my wildcard, I do only have one free transfer, but I will be looking to use it. In terms of the players that I'm potentially transferring out, the first one is Aubameyang. So he is potentially going to be missing for the Fulham game. We don't quite know if he'll be back, but I was always only going to take a 1 week punt on him, so I probably will be looking to move him on. The second player is also Aubameyang, and as you may have guessed, the third player on my potential transfers out list is Aubameyang. There is only one player that I want to transfer out. He's been causing me a headache. I thought I'd take a 1 week extra punt on him against Sheffield United, which would have been so good seeing as they won 3-0, but he picked up a flu the day before the game and didn't make it. So I will be making one free transfer, and Aubameyang will be leaving my team. So with Aubameyang leaving my team, let's have a look at who might be coming in his place. The first player we have is Jesse Lingard, the man on form. I didn't necessarily think he'd get a goal against Leicester, which is why I didn't start with him on my wildcard, but he got his 2 goals and he feels pretty important to own at the moment. I'm very scared going into that Newcastle fixture without him, so he's definitely something that I'm considering getting in ahead of Game Week 32. And the other one is Bruno Fernandes. Now, he's not looked quite as good in recent weeks, but we always know Bruno Fernandes, currently the highest scorer in FPL still. We know what he's capable of doing, and he has a nice run of fixtures, so he could definitely be the other player coming in to replace Aubameyang. So in terms of how I actually make my decision on whether I will go with Lingard, so if we look at a few of their key stats as well as their upcoming fixtures, we can see that Lingard has 9.1 points per game, although he's only started 9 games this season, with Newcastle, Chelsea, Burnley, Everton and Brighton in their upcoming fixtures, whereas Fernandes over a much longer period has 6.7 points per game, with Burnley, Leeds, Liverpool, Aston Villa and Leicester in the upcoming. Now, the points per game favours Lingard, although Fernandes has shown that form over a much longer period of time, but the fixtures also favour Lingard, with that Newcastle, Burnley and Brighton fixtures with Everton in there as well, whereas Fernandes does have Liverpool and Leicester as well as Aston Villa in the sort of foreseeable future. However, with the injuries that West Ham are going with, like Cresswell now adding on to the likes of Antonio and Declan Rice, there's always going to be a question mark about how long can they continue to perform the way they are doing, whereas we've seen it from Fernandes for such a long period of time that I expect him to continue ticking along. So it is a bit of a dilemma for me at the moment about whether I go for Jesse Lingard or Bruno Fernandes as my Aubameyang captain ahead of Game Week 32. So with those in mind, my transfer will be Aubameyang out, being replaced by either Jesse Lingard or Bruno Fernandes. And with that in mind, let's have a quick look at how my team might line up for Game Week 32. Just before we get into the final section of this video is sponsored by Fantasy Football Hub. They have great stats, articles, comparison tools, fixture tickers and so much more. From just £2 a month you can improve your FPL game. There is a link in the description which will give you 15% off. If you are interested, go and check it out. Available online and in the App Store. Enjoy. Now let's get back to the video. So my predicted transfer, looking at the fixtures with the form that he's in at the moment and the fixture immediately in Game Week 32, I do plan on choosing Jesse Lingard over Bruno Fernandes. Now, at time of recording, I haven't made this transfer and I can't confirm 100% that this is the way that I'll be going, but looking at the price changes, looking at those fixtures and looking at how good Lingard has been, I do plan on choosing him as my Aubameyang replacement. So in terms of how I'll line up, I will have Schmeichel coming back into goal. I did bench him this week just for Forster because I thought he had a better fixture against West Brom. Now, Schmeichel again, West Brom at home. Leicester's defence didn't look great against West Ham in Game Week 31, but fingers crossed that home fixture can be a good one for Schmeichel, although West Brom have shown really good form in recent games. Into the defence, we start off with 2 really nice fixtures as Rudiger and Saiss maintain their places with home fixtures against Brighton and Sheffield United. Both teams that have struggled to score goals in recent weeks, and Wolves and Chelsea have shown some good defensive form, so let's hope for clean sheets from at least one of these two. Now, the change in my defence comes with Kufal, who comes into my team in place of Phillips. Now, Phillips is away at Leeds, and Leeds have looked good in recent weeks, so it does make sense for Kufal to come into my team. Although with St. Maximin coming back to the team for Newcastle, their attacking threat does look much better. Lingard, of course, comes into my lineup if he's my transfer. If not, it will be Fernandes. Newcastle away, potentially an easy fixture, although he might not have the space to counter-attack that he has had in previous games where he has got returns, but definitely happy not to be scared of owning Jesse Lingard every week now. Elsewhere in my midfield, the double Liverpool midfield of course maintain their place. Leeds have been a team that we've seen they love to attack, they often concede a lot of chances, so having Jota and Salah in their team here for that game week is definitely something that I'm looking forward to. Up front, we have Jamie Vardy and Iheanacho again completing my triple Leicester for this game week. Vardy and Iheanacho both have a fixture at home to West Brom. Again, West Brom have shown really good form in the past couple of weeks with wins against Chelsea and Southampton, but let's hope that Iheanacho can continue his form and Vardy can get in a bit of the action as well with his teammate. The final two people are Son and Kane for the Tottenham double game week. Everton and Southampton in this, including a Friday night game and then early into the next week. Two players that I've owned for a long time this season and there was no chance that they weren't getting into my starting lineup. If you guys don't have them, I would definitely look to be buying one of them this game week. But yeah, definitely happy to have Son and Kane in my team. This does mean that I am benching Forster, Smith Rowe, Phillips and Konza. These are all really easy decisions for me, with Smith Rowe having Fulham being the only difficult decision, but there's no one in my starting lineup that I don't want to play over him. Smith Rowe also had a knock, so if someone doesn't start, he can come in off the bench, but here's my first sub for this week. So that's how my team line up, but in terms of my captain and vice captain for this game week, first of all, I think it's pretty obvious that it will be going on a double game week player. I have seen people potentially considering the likes of Salah against Leeds, Lingard or Vardy or Iheanacho, but for me it has to be on a double game week player. Kane is at the moment. Now Son did score in game week 31, but Harry Kane has showed much more consistent returns recently that I'm going with him. Everton and Southampton, particularly that Southampton fixture, is one I want to target. They do have the cup match after game week 32, but again, I think Kane has that assured start every week, whereas Son, there is a slight rotation risk with him. However, the exciting news is that Harry Kane will be my triple captain chip for the game week 32, and it will be the only time of course that I get to use this throughout the season, and Harry Kane will be getting that. It's potentially the last double game week of the season. Harry Kane is top for goals and assists this season. He has two decent enough fixtures, so yeah, I've held it this long and there is no chance, unless we get an injury concern from him, that I will be playing my triple captain elsewhere. So Harry Kane is my triple captain, and that's how my team lines up for game week 32. If you all have any questions about your team going into the game week, please make sure to ask them in the comments down below or over on Twitter. But that's all we've got time for. Good luck in game week 32, everyone. I hope your arrows are green. I hope you get a good score. Bring on Harry Kane hat tricks in the double game week for my triple captain, and I will see you all next time. Bye.